Everyone to Cash That Ticket podcast here on the Straight Out of Vegas AM feed. Friday, May the 1st, 2026. Here to get into some more NBA action in the NBA playoffs. And of course, we've got MLB new series starting for the weekend. We'll dive into some of those games or do a rundown of that as well. See if we do like anything on that card. Coming off a fantastic month of April. As far as our best bets do go, we'll recap that on Monday when I do get the updated numbers from our guy, Kelvin there. So appreciate him doing that for us for this podcast. But joining me, of course, here to help me break everything down happening in the sporting world, it's Uncle Diamond Dave Essler. Uncle Dave, how's it going, sir?
It's going awesome. It's Friday. I mean, we got lots of stuff going on, lots of opportunities to make money. I did cash my best bet last night, which I guess I'm thankful for because we didn't have an over day. We haven't had any of those in a while. And, I cashed my biggest bet on the under in the Nuggets game last night for clients. That was awesome. But full disclosure, I gave a little back because I also took the Nuggets to win the series, as I said I was probably going to do. So I needlessly gave back. Again, I hate losing more than I like winning. I'm kicking myself in the ass for that bet, but I'm human. No harm, no foul. We move on. Let's find some winners. I'm relying on you today.
Yeah, well, we can blame the Denver Nuggets series loss to my best bet yesterday, which was Jamal Murray, who didn't do much of anything last night for the Denver Nuggets. Played 40 minutes. As we had talked about, Uncle Dave, that we knew that Nikola Jokić, Jamal Murray were going to play at minimum 35 plus minutes. They both played 40 plus minutes, but 4 of 17 from the floor is not going to help you do anything. It's not going to help you win games for your team. It didn't help me win my best bet either. But again, like you mentioned, I think in the history of this pod, we've had probably more 2-0 days and 0-2 days. And, it would have been nice finishing the month going 2-0 there, but Jamal Murray does fall well short of the points and assists going over last night. He finishes the game with 12 points and only 4 assists last night for the Denver Nuggets. As you mentioned, Denver does take the series loss, a round one exit for the Denver Nuggets. The Minnesota Timberwolves get the 110-98 victory. We mentioned, and we talked about when we broke down the game, Uncle David, and you mentioned the under there that you gave out to your premium clients. Got there fairly easily that this was going to be a game that if Minnesota was going to win, it was going to be in a lower scoring game, right? You couldn't get into a shootout with the Denver Nuggets, but they played some great defense last night, led by Jaden McDaniels, who did a lot of talking, excuse me, during this series, but he also backed it up last night in the game clinching game. 45 minutes of the 48 minutes, he did play 32 points, 10 rebounds for the T-Wolves. There was a plus 16 from the floor. Terrence Shannon Jr. added 24 points, and the Minnesota Timberwolves will advance to the Western Conference Semifinals against the San Antonio Spurs, who I believe opened up as a minus 3,000 favorite in that series there. So congrats to the Minnesota Timberwolves. And of course, the blowout last night, I'd be remiss not to mention, Uncle Dave. I mean, this game was over. I'm not sure if Atlanta got out of bed yesterday for this game. The New York Knicks, a 140-89 victory. They had an 83-36 lead at the half there. And I mean, I'm not going to dive too much into it. The Knicks just took care of business. That won by 51 points. And then we do have at least one game 7 that will be happening in Boston. Philly gets the 106-93 victory against the Celtics, and game 7 for all the marbles to advance to the Eastern Conference semifinals will be played in Boston, I believe, on Saturday there. So was definitely an eventful night in the association last night. Uncle Dave, let's get into it here because we do have 3 NBA games to get into, and I'm sure we'll have some type of rundown as far as the MLB schedule does go. We'll preview the Minnesota and San Antonio series on Monday because game 1 is on Monday. There's already lines out, but we'll talk about that series on Monday there. So stay tuned for that. And of course, probably remaining of the series that we'll know by this weekend's over for round 2. We'll get into all that on Monday. But at least for tonight, Detroit Pistons, they are in Orlando looking to also force a game seven as they are trailing 3 games to 2, coming off a very impressive victory at home on Wednesday night. Right now, the Pistons are laying 3.5 points in this game here, Uncle Dave, with a total of 210.5. Looking at the injury report for this game, of course, we know Franz Wagner is continuing to deal with that calf injury. He is going to be out for this game. Jonathan Isaac is also doubtful. And then for the Detroit Pistons, I am seeing questionable tags on Tobias Harris and Kevin Herter for the Pistons there. But here, Uncle Dave, here we are, -3.5 in favor of the Pistons, looking to force a game seven. What are your thoughts on this matchup, either spread or total?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the market this morning, and you mentioned 3.5, and actually, just as you were talking about that, Circa, Westgate, South Point, Vegas books, William Hill, actually too, all went to 4, right? And that is with uh, roughly 2/3 of the tickets on Orlando. Now, what we have seen in this playoffs is that the market means very little, right? I mean, just look at last night when Denver, I think, closed maybe a week 7 point favorite, and that didn't matter. And I could go back and cite countless examples in the playoffs. I think you have to pay much less attention to the market as perhaps you would in the regular season. But having said that, and I like Orlando here. I mean, I'm not going to lie. Um, is it a must-win game? Of course it is. But their two losses were at Detroit, right? They lost by a lot in game two, and then that was kind of stands to reason after Detroit beat them. They need to. I say they I guess they lost by 7. They lost by 5 by 15. And they're catching 3.5 at home. I love my home underdogs, right? It hasn't mattered whether Wagner's played or hasn't played, or I mean, you got to think Harris is going to play, right? I'm going to just go right to the Piston. I mean, to the Magic. I mean, if I can get 4 at home in a must-win game, I mean they've got confidence, right? I mean, they won at Detroit. Uh, they won at Detroit in game one, and
Yeah.
and they just haven't got blown out. I mean, except for game two, which you kind of expect. Detroit had to come back. They didn't want to go down 0-2. But Detroit had the closeout game at home, right? Um, I don't see any other outcome here than this being a low scoring game. And I look at the total; it's 210. It's very tempting to take the over because it's low. It was 210.5 last game. It's 210.5 this game. I kind of want to take the over based on the fact that it's just too low. But the market didn't adjust after last week's game, so I actually think this game does stay under the 210. And that just gives me all the more reason to take the Magic +4. So, I'm not going to overthink it. I'm not going to overreact to the market. Oh my God, everybody's on Detroit. I got to hop on Detroit. I doubt the market goes much higher. We try to predict, where it's going to go so we can get the best number. I don't see it going to 4.5. If I'm betting this right now, I am taking the Orlando Magic at home in a must-win game plus more than one possession. I'll take it.
Yeah, and I think I'm with you, or I am with you on the Magic +4. I think the biggest thing over there that stands out to me from game five of this series, the Orlando Magic missed 14 free throws in that game. They were 16 of 30 from the free throw line, more so because Paolo Banchero went 5 of 12 from the free throw line. I don't think that can happen for Paolo. I mean, he did finish the game, yes, with 45 points, but I mean, they probably could have gotten they did get the cover in that game in Detroit there. But I think being back at home in Orlando over the past couple of seasons, again, under Jamal Mosley, has been very, very good in Orlando on their home floor here. So I'm going to take the points here, even without Franz Wagner. I think I'm not expecting another 45 point performance from Paulo again, but I do think again he has a big game for the Orlando Magic. I think, as well, I know you mentioned Desmond Bane in the last game. I think this could be another game being back at home where he steps up even more for this Orlando Magic team and has a big game and supporting Paulo on the offensive side of things. But I think for me is that if I like something similar to Minnesota yesterday, that I don't think Orlando can get into a shootout here with the Detroit Pistons. I think Pistons had their one, great offensive game in game five. I mean, 28 of their 116 116 points came from the free throw line, right? They shot 49% from the floor, and it was a 45-point effort from Cade Cunningham. You got 23 from Tobias Harris. I don't think that's going to happen again here as well. So Magic plus the 4 for me, under as well in this game. And I think I would probably just go right back to Paolo points or rebounds in this game here, because I do think that he has another big game here for Orlando. But I think also a pivot as far as player props for Orlando could be maybe a Desmond Bane points prop or a 3-pointers made prop for him in this matchup here. So that's what I've got as far as player props. You like anything on the prop side?
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I say I don't. I haven't had the opportunity to look deep into them, so I'm not going to make something up just for content purposes. But I am 100% inclined to agree with you that Banchero will probably go over. I don't, you know, I like uh, I like the team. I like Orlando. If they're going to be competitive, it's going to be him, right? So I'm 100% with you on that one as well.
Last note I'll make here about Desmond Bane, 3+ 3-pointers made here for him tonight is at plus money. Currently over on DraftKings, plus 115. He's made at least three threes in 3 straight games. He's made at least 5 threes in the 2 home games in the series thus far, and he's attempting close to 9 attempts per game in this series from beyond the arc as well there. So I really do like that, especially at plus odds for Desmond Bane here tonight. All right, let's keep it moving here. Let's get over to another team looking to force a game 7 here. That's going to be the Cleveland Cavaliers looking to close it out, but Toronto looking to force a game 7 back in Cleveland here. But Cleveland right now is laying 3.5 points in this game with a total of 218.5. Injury report. Brandon Ingram is questionable here for tonight for the Toronto Raptors. He did leave the game in game 5, which I believe was a heel injury for Brandon Ingram. And I'll get the official injury designation for him here. Yeah, it was a right heel inflammation. So he's officially questionable for tonight. For the Cleveland Cavaliers, it's a very clean injury report. Nobody is on there. And should I mention, of course, Emmanuel Quickly as well is going to continue to be out for the Toronto Raptors side of things. Raptors catching 3.5 here at home, Uncle Dave, total 218.5. What are your thoughts on this one?
Well, again, I think this one is pretty simple. Um, Cleveland has not won in Toronto. What would make me think that they will tonight? I mean, yeah, okay, the whole Barrett news, and if Barrett doesn't play, that line probably goes up beyond 3.5. But should it? I don't think it should. If you look at the last game, Ingram rather, Barrett played. What did he play the last game? Not many minutes.
So Brandon Ingram is the one that left with an
Yeah, my
injury.
bad.
But no. And then RJ Barrett is the one that had a really good game for them. 38 minutes. He had 25 points and 12 rebounds. Brandon Ingram played 11 minutes, only had a point in that game. So
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
yeah,
Now, hang on. Forgive me.
take your time.
Yeah, my bad there. I mean, Toronto almost came back to win that game, right? I mean, they were down big after 3. They only lost by 5, but they were ahead going into the fourth quarter without Ingram, right? So why would his absence make a huge difference in the line? It probably should not make a huge difference in the line. I mean, they got like major points, major minutes from Jamal Shield. Battle didn't do a whole lot, but 19 minutes, and Boyles didn't do a whole lot, but 25 minutes. Those guys are used to playing the minutes, so I'm not worried about Ingram being in or out. I mean, I would like him to be in, but by the same token, if you look at you know even when he's been healthy, he's not had a dominant series, right? I mean, He entered game five only averaging 14 points, less than four rebounds, 2.3 assists, shooting 33% from the field. So has he really been a huge factor anyway? I would probably, I like Toronto. I like the home team. I mean, Cleveland hasn't won there yet. Cleveland had to work awful hard to win a closeout game. I think Toronto has. I think Toronto, even in that loss, they have the momentum. So I like Toronto at home here quite a bit. I'm thinking about the line. Okay, if Ingram doesn't play, we might get more points. So when I wait, probably not because if for some reason he does play, we get less. I like Toronto to win the game, so why not take them plus the points? As I said, Ingram hadn't been dominant this whole series anyway, so I'm not going to overreact, and that's what people tend to do, right? Overreact to player availability. We see it all year long. When stars go down, everybody else steps up. I mean, we forget that how good these 6, 7, 8 guys are on an NBA roster. I mean, there's not. I go back to we only have two rounds of the draft, so 60ish players drafted. About five of them actually make a difference and start on a roster going forward. So I think we undervalue. We overvalue the stars and we undervalue the backups. So I think Toronto could win without him. I like the Raptors here.
Yeah, I'm also not expecting Cleveland to shoot 50% from beyond the arc again, right? They were 18 of 36 in game five from beyond the arc. And a lot of that contribution also did come from their bench. Dennis Schroeder, 3 of 6, Sam Merrill, 2 of 2, Jalen Tyson, 2 of 4. So you've got at least, let's see here, 5, 7, at least 8 3-pointers that were made from the bench. Dean Wade made one. Um, from that roster. Also not expecting Evan Mobley to go 3 of 3 from beyond the arc there as well. So I think this is another case where I don't want to say shootout, but we know Toronto can compete in those type of games, but it's just Cleveland on the road, right? I mean, Uncle Dave, I mean, at this point, we don't like talking about season stats, and I mentioned this when we talked about Game 3 of this series that Cleveland was just not a very good road team, and I think that's also transpired here in the first round, and I think that could be their demise if they do advance to the next round here. But I think for tonight, if this number again does get to 4, maybe a 4.5, if Brandon Ingram does get officially ruled out, I would be on the Raptors here, and I also would look at a Cleveland team total to go under in this matchup here as well for tonight. So that's where I'm at. I don't have any player props, at least for this game. Maybe for the Toronto side, I'll wait and see if Brandon Ingram does get ruled in or out. But I think it could be a Scotty Barnes game again. Maybe looking at his rebounds and assists to go over in this game. Or sorry, yeah, in this game because he's done pretty well, especially dishing the basketball for this Toronto Raptors team there. So that's all I got. You got anything else?
I don't have any player props just to kind of further my case about Toronto. I mean, you mentioned Cleveland shooting 50% from behind the arc, but look even a little deeper. They were out rebounded. Cleveland was by 13 rebounds, offensive rebounds, 15 for Toronto, 4 for Cleveland.
Yeah.
Assists, 32 for Toronto, 20 for Cleveland. I mean, if I was just to look at that, with the exception of the 50% shooting from behind the arc for Cleveland, I would say Toronto would win that game. That just makes me like Toronto even more tonight. They played a more complete game. I mean, 32 assists and lose the game. That's hard to do. They did miss 8 free throws. That would have made a difference as well. So, I'm. The more I look at this, the more I like Toronto here, and I don't care who plays, whether it's Ingram or not. As far as player props go, I mean, for the Toronto side, any player prop would probably have to be based on who's playing and who's not. And
Yeah.
I think last time we talked about maybe Harden having a good game, and he didn't have. Well, he didn't have a great game. He didn't have a terrible game, 23 points, 9 rebounds. But I actually see him having a better game, so I'm not averse to Harden props. Um, he he only had 5 assists, and for him that's kind of low, right? 23 points. I think he kind of wants to take over a little bit tonight. So I'm not averse to taking Harden points, rebounds, and assists over.
I could swear to you that DraftKings used to have a turnover market But I don't think the turnover props market, I don't think they have that anymore because I really would have taken the James Harden turnover prop here for tonight, but I think they were probably getting killed on those. And I don't see those anymore. Blocks, steals. Yeah, it used to be under defense, but yeah, it's not there anymore. So I won't waste any more time on that. All right. Last game of the night, it's going to be down here in Houston. Lakers and the Rockets. Rockets looking to force a game seven after trailing 3 games to nothing. They've won back to back games. So give the Rockets credit, especially without Kevin Durant, who has already also been ruled out for game 6. He has the official bone bruise, is what the official diagnosis is in his ankle. So it's similar to what Anthony Edwards has, except for Edwards, it's in his knee. And from everything that I've read, it takes at least 2 weeks to recover from those type of injuries there. So we'll see if he's able, if and when the Rockets maybe do get to game 7 in LA, that if Durant's able to go, but can't get to a game 7 without winning game 6 here. So Lakers looking to close it out. Rockets looking to extend the series here, Uncle Dave. 3.5 in favor of this Houston Rockets team at home, total of 205.5. Can the Rockets force a game 7?
Can they? Yes. I mean, there's a huge part of me, and I've seen it all over the Twitterverse, that the Rockets will win the series. Um, I don't. I mean, they might, and I think you can certainly make a case for that. But I don't know. I look at that last game, and often I see the Lakers shooting 25% from behind the arc. Is that going to continue? I'm not sure. And then I look at the other side of the coin. Okay, my friend LeBron James, um, lots of games, right? Like he had days off during the regular season. Say what you want about him being Superman, he is 41, and now you're looking at 6 games in 13 days. Not something he's overly used to, and on the road. So I think it's going to require a Herculean effort from him if the Lakers are going to win. Now, I'm sure Luke Kennard will be a little bit bigger factor. 31 minutes, 1 point in the last game. But I just don't see the depth. I mean, Reeves came back. He had a great game. Without Reeves, they'd have no shot at that last game.
Yeah.
But, I just look at what the Rockets were able to do. The Rockets were able to do it as a team. I mean, they got good contributions off the bench. Nobody, no one person carried the Rockets. They did it as a team. So I'm leery. I look at the market, right, and now we're looking at the Lakers actually. I believe they're underdogs for the first time in this series, if I'm not mistaken. Um, and what's up with that? No, I mean, Houston rather. Houston's getting Lakers are getting 3.5, and I'm off. I'm looking at one thing and saying another again, so I apologize for that. Okay, Houston has the momentum. I'm gonna go with your Rockets at home. I hate to do it, I really do, because everybody's taking Houston.
Yeah.
But I just see Houston as a more complete team. I mean, we've talked all series about who's going to play for the Lakers. Is Luka going to be back? Well, obviously not. He may even miss some of the next series if the Lakers are fortunate enough to go forward. And okay, about Austin Reeves. Okay, he's back now. When the Lakers are going to win? Well, no, they're not. They didn't. So I think the Lakers. Um, they're putting pieces and parts together, right? They've had to play a bunch of games without Luka, so they have a different set, if you will. And now Reeves comes back, so they change things up a little bit. I mean, they have to, right? So now they're going to change things up again, and I just think that their team chemistry is like way off, if you will. It has to be and Houston's is not. I mean, they've played a bunch of games without Durant. They've won against a bunch of games without Durant. They haven't relied on any one player to do it, and they have multiple ways to get it done. And their bench is better, clearly. I mean, I go into the stats, but they just are. So I don't know how you don't take the Rockets. Do I like laying 3.5 points? No, but I think they get it done. I think it's probably a close game. Do I like laying 3.5 points with a game of a total of 205.5? Absolutely not. Do I think it goes over 2.5, 205.5? Absolutely not. The Lakers would like nothing more than a 190 game. I would be inclined to look at the Houston team total over, which would lead me again to think that they probably do cover. Um, I think we see a game seven here. I think Houston wins. Do they cover 3.5? Probably. Does the game go over 2.5, 205.5? I tend to doubt it because I don't think Houston can get up there, and I don't think that the Lakers want to get up there. So I think it probably stays under. So let me retract my Houston team total. I think they're begging people to take the over, bringing this total down as far as it has, but. I think it's down for good reason. I don't think it's far enough. We may not see 200 in this game. We didn't see it last game. I think we may not this game. I think um, for both teams, it almost has to be methodical, and I think it will be. I would love the first half under as well, Munaf.
Yeah, we've seen three games as far as the total. Let me start there. 205 or less. We had game one, 205, game two, 195, game five was 192. So I think that's, and again, if you're watching these games, that these teams are not playing at a fast pace. In fact, I think if we compared it to the slowest teams during the regular season with these two teams in this series, I think it feels like they're playing even slower than that. There's gonna be a lot of half court stuff. One thing that stood out to me, and I saw this on Twitter as well, as somebody mentioned that they got Austin Reeves back, but he's turning into a huge liability on the defensive side of the basketball, as he has been for this Lakers team. I think that's what led to a lot of the open 3-point looks that the Rockets had in this game. I mean, for what Austin Reeves brings on offense, I don't think that, JJ Redick is going to keep him on the bench. I mean, look, he did play 34 minutes in his first game back, after missing, X amount of time for this Lakers team. And I agree with you. I think it's going to take a very huge effort from LeBron James, here tonight to clinch this series and move on against the Oklahoma City Thunder. But at the same time, for LeBron, it's what you mentioned, right? It's the number of minutes that he's already played in this series that the wear and tear starting to show up as we get progressively later and later in the series, where I think for the Lakers, it's either A, if they won this game tonight, Uncle Dave, it's either A, LeBron had a huge game for the Lakers, or it was something to what we saw a couple games ago where Marcus Smart and Luke Kennard had big games combined for this Lakers team. They won that game. But you mentioned, right, all the momentum is with the Rockets. And when we talk about playoffs and people, talking about betting, they want to bet on that momentum. And right now, again, 2 games in a row with this starting 5 of the Rockets without Kevin Durant, that all 5 starters were in double figures. So you don't have to rely on the bench as much for this Rockets team if your starters are doing that. And we saw Reed Shepherd, I guess, have his coming out party, or was clutch in big moments down that stretch in game 5, especially on the road. So I was very impressed, despite me thinking the Rockets were going to lose in game 5 against the Lakers going on the road. But, they weathered the storm, especially in the first quarter, and they just got back to basics and playing defense and then playing with confidence. Because it feels like for this Rockets team, they're playing with quote unquote house money, right? Yes, they were favored at the beginning of the series to win this, especially without Luka. But now with Kevin Durant not there for this Rockets team, the dynamic of that has changed a little bit. So I like the under number one. My favorite bet in this game is the under. I think the Rockets can force a game 7 here tonight. I think it'll come down to, I think it will come down to if the Rockets are able to, in those final 2 minutes or in that final minute, close out the game. Because we saw it, right? When that game went into overtime just last week, Uncle Dave, we could be having a different conversation right now, or maybe not even talking about this game right now if the Rockets were able to close out that game last week. So, yeah, with all that being said, give me the Rockets minus the points, but my favorite play also will be the under in this game at 205.5. As far as player props, I don't have much, Uncle Dave. Maybe it's another Jabari game for the Rockets. But do you have anything you like for player props in this game or anything you may be targeting?
No, I'm going to pass player props on this one. Again, I haven't had a lot of time to dig into it due to time constraints prior to us hitting record. So I'm not going to throw anything out that I haven't either bet on or don't have a strong opinion on. So those will have to wait till next week.
I think the only one I would be looking at, and this is what the one game I didn't get an opportunity to dig into player props. I think Amen Thompson, either steals and blocks combined, would be a look here for me if it's at 2.5 or 3.5. I'm pretty sure it's probably 3.5. Let me just double check here because now on DraftKings I have to go under the actual game and find it, and they have it as SGPs now. So let's see. Steals and blocks. It's not. Oh, here we go. Man Thompson steals is 1.5. I like that. Steals and blocks. They don't have it listed yet. So maybe that opens up during the afternoon as we progress through the Friday. All right. So that is the NBA card for the Friday games. Again, as I mentioned, we do have a lot of baseball. We do have a early afternoon game in Chicago with Zach Gallen on the mound for the Diamondbacks and Colin Ray for the Cubs. So your traditional Friday 2:20 Eastern start time in Wrigley Field. But Uncle Dave do have some intriguing matchups as we start here for the weekend. Astros, Red Sox. We have Patrick Corbin on the mound here as well. Braves visiting the Rockies, and let's see where those Dodgers are this weekend. They're going to be in St. Louis here. But anything that's caught your eye in the MLB card?
I mean, I'm looking at some of the markets. That you mentioned the Dodgers. I mean, I don't think Sheehan's going to give up a lot of runs, not to the Cardinals' offense, but it doesn't really look like the Dodgers are going to score a lot either. I mean, that game opened 8.5, juiced over, and it's actually all the way down to 8 right now. Now the tickets and the money are on that as well. But I think if I could find an 8.5, I'd be inclined to follow the market on that under. I could potentially be inclined to take the Cardinals run line. I do think that's an under game and I'm looking at the market. You got 70% of the tickets on the Dodgers, and not a lot of discernible line movement in that way. So that would kind of almost be an auto bet. Looking at the card, there's a lot of sort of minus 140, minus 150 teams, and they're always so dicey. I mean, I always want to blindly bet all the underdogs, if I'm being honest, but I don't like to blindly bet anything. You mentioned Patrick Corbin, and it's interesting that people love him today, and I get it. We talked about fading Toronto yesterday in the afternoon game, the night game, and we would have been correct. We had the first 5 under, we were correct there. I'm inclined to think the first 5 under there again as well. But I do like Minnesota. I know I love Minnesota at home. They got it done last night. Corbin might have outkicked his coverage so far this year. He's been better, but I don't want to. I don't want to jump ship on that. He's kind of like the Miles McCullough, sometimes, or Dustin May. Sometimes, your eyes deceive you. You're expecting one thing and then getting another, and you think, they've had a couple of good games, and that may be the outlier, and it's actually not. They might have found something. So I'm a little leery, but I could totally get behind the Twins team total in that one. I don't have a lot of other ones. I'm going to have a best bet in the baseball game. It's always tough not to take the Brewers with the Miz on the mound in the first 5 innings. Jake Irvin does have an upside, but again, Washington, they've been known to put some runs on the board, so I say that with a little bit of trepidation. It's also hard not to like McClanahan for Tampa Bay at home, but is he really worth minus 150 against Robbie Ray? Offensively, I don't think these teams are all that much different. I would be inclined to take San Francisco plus a half a run in the first 5 innings. Might be a little expensive, but it also might be a winner. I know a lot of people love the Padres to beat the White Sox tonight. Now, I know bettors do, but I'm looking at that market. Be careful out there. The Rockies are. I mean, the White Sox are playing better ball. Schultz does have a huge upside, and Marquez has a huge downside. I mean, he's been known to get crushed. So I would be very leery of the Padres. In fact, I would look at the White Sox on the run line. But that's all I have any amount of like realistic conviction in tonight. I like totals, but the weather in a lot of places is not ideal for it. In Sacramento, it's always good to take overs, and the market has kind of done that, pushing it from 9 to 9.5. I think Ginn is better than people think. I think Cantillo is better than people think. I think Cleveland's offense is worse than people think. I'm inclined to a little bit disagree with that one. If I'm, that's certainly not a blind bet, not at 9.5. At 9, maybe I could see it, but needing 10 runs to lose that game with those two offenses, I would actually be looking at under in that one if I'm being honest. And that's kind of where I'm at this morning.
Yeah, I really didn't have time to again dive into the MLB card, even though I started looking at it yesterday. But yeah, we have Orioles, Yankees also at Yankee Stadium. Cade Povich on the mound for the Orioles there. Um, minus 186 for the Yankees. That feels that's a tax that you're paying, of course, with the Yankees and the Dodgers that we talk about. I mean, do you just continue fading the Mets? They're going to take on the Angels here this weekend. What else do we have? I mean, you pretty much mentioned a lot of it, Uncle Dave. I do like the under there in the Royals and the Mariners with Cole Ragans and Brian Wu on the mound. I know Wu's been absolutely fantastic, especially in T-Mobile Park there for the Mariners and having a pretty good season. I know he got off to a really good start as well for the Mariners pitching rotation there. And just on the season right now, despite having a 1-2 record, he's coming off of his worst start of the season, giving up 7 earned runs to the Cardinals. But I think this is a good bounce back spot for him, especially being at home where he was, he's been really, really good. And that's also the crazy part for him is I believe this is only his second start at home this season, where I think 4 of his 5 starts, or sorry, his third start of the third home start this season, where 4 of his first 6 starts this season have been on the road for Brian Wu. So I think getting back comfortable in that home stadium there, I think that could definitely benefit Brian Wu there, especially with the Royal struggles on the road thus far this season there. Yeah, so I won't waste any more time on the MLB card here if I don't have anything. All right, before we do get over to best bets to close out this week and hopefully to get our month of May started off on the right foot, just a little reminder, everybody, get over there at pregame.com. And right now, you can get a 30-day all-access MLB picks package. Right now, it's priced at $119, but if you use that promo code HIT20, HIT20, over there at pregame.com, you could get it down to $99 for 30 days. As I mentioned, right, MLB has most days has anywhere from 13 to 15 games, right? We've talked about getaway day. There's on Thursdays typically where not a lot of games happening, but it's a lot to get through. And sometimes you've heard it here that we struggle to do it ourselves. But as the day progresses, we have information and, we get the bullpens and usage and things like that. Now let us do the work for you. So get over there, pregame.com. If you want to support the podcast here, do us a favor, use that promo code HIT20, HIT20. You can knock off $20 off that already discounted price of $119 for 30 days all access for the MLB season. So 30 days MLB already discounted $119, promo code HIT20 gets it down to $99. Get over there pregame.com and make sure to use that promo code. All right, Uncle Dave, let's get the month of May started off on the right foot. Let's close out the week strong here. I'll let you lead it off. Where are you taking us for your best bet?
Yeah, I mean, I bet this, and I'm going to bet against Mike Burrows. Okay. I know that probably doesn't surprise you. And there's a lot of reasons to do this, but the Red Sox team total over 4.5. Fenway Park, not ideal for weather-wise, but it's Fenway Park, right? And what's Burrows done? I mean, he's struck some people out, but he's given up runs. Okay, in his starts, opposing teams have scored 8, 7, 6, and 5, and then we have the first game, the only game, he won Boston 6-4. Well, I love taking the opposite team in a rematch, right? I mean, hitters make adjustments, and I'll do that all year. I'll bring it up 100 times. I'll blindly go the other way. Now, I'm not going to blindly go the other way with the game, but I will totally blindly go the other way. With Boston will score some runs. It's just I mean, what's Burrow's done? He's got up 41 hits in 32 innings, 7 home runs. I mean, one of the only two games he did not give up a home run again against the Red Sox. Well, we know how the Red Sox started the season. They didn't score against anybody. I mean, they still managed to put up 2 runs on him. And then, of course, you always have the vaunted Astros bullpen. I will spare you the stats, especially because it's you. You know them as well as I do. They're pathetic. They probably should have their own category. They're that bad. So, and then Burrows has only pitched more than 5 innings once, right? And the time he did that was against Seattle. Well, they gave up 11 hits in 6 innings, so it wasn't like he was beast mode. I think it was probably more a point of they might have used their bullpen the night before and didn't have anybody else, but he still gave up 6 runs in 6 innings. So if I were of the mind, I would make that a team total of the year. I really like that one a lot.
There we go. Red Sox team total over 4.5 here tonight for Uncle Dave against the Astros, and how bad that pitching staff has been and will continue to be until they get some of their guys back. For my best bet, I'm just gonna go.
Before you get into that, I hate to interrupt you, but I don't
No,
want
no.
you to close me off. Let me go back to basketball a little bit. Cleveland just went to 4.5, right? Now
Okay.
I'm not looking at my Twitter feed, but
Let me
that
see.
would tell me that what's his name's already been ruled out. I mean, it's
Brandon
basically,
Ingram.
yeah, every single book went across the board to 4.5. I would bet he's out. I mean, I could look at my Twitter feed, but you don't usually get moves like that where every single book moves without player availability. And here we are, kind of morning shooter on time. I would almost bet that that's the case. If not, a shitload of people like Cleveland, and I don't.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it because Underdog does a really good job of
Yeah.
getting all that tweeted out. Let me see if they posted anything. Yeah. So Brandon Ingram, 14 minutes ago, he'll downgraded to doubtful
Yeah.
for Friday. So we don't
I mean,
expect
it's
him to
almost
play there.
automatic when you see a line move like that.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
not the fact that it went up a half a point or a point in some books. The fact that it was everywhere.
Yeah. So Brandon Ingram looks like more than likely he will not be playing here tonight for the Toronto Raptors. Uncle Dave, my best bet, it's at plus odds. I mentioned it earlier. Um, Desmond Bane over 2.5 3-pointers made here tonight, plus 117, currently over on DraftKings. And I mentioned this earlier when we talked about the game that for the Orlando Magic, somebody else outside of Paolo is going to have to step up here tonight. And Desmond Bane's he's having a pretty good series, but I think the one thing that really stands out to me about him, this is what I mentioned, that he's had at least 8 3-point attempts in 4 of the 5 games thus far in this series. Now we're going to take over the last 3 games. He's made combined 16 3-pointers on 29 attempts. So he's in a good form right now for this Magic team. And also, I know he's going to be out there playing the minutes for this Orlando Magic team as well. And just being back at home in Orlando where they've played, 43 games now. I'm not sure Desmond Bane obviously hasn't played in all those, but I just think getting behind that crowd, he's going to have to make some big shots here tonight for a guy that's done in 3 straight games. And I'm getting volume, number one, from beyond the arc, where he's averaging 8.8 3-point attempts in this series thus far, and also playing 35.5 minutes per game. And you're also without Franz Wagner, as I mentioned here tonight. I think Bane has to step up, and I think he does from beyond the arc. So hopefully he makes it 4 straight games, and us getting plus odds right now on that over 2.5 3-pointers made. I'll take that to the bank as my best bet there. So plus 117 right now, currently over on DraftKings for Desmond Bane to make 3+ 3-pointers here tonight as my best bet. All right, that's going to do it here for the Cash Stat Ticket podcast on the Straight Out of Vegas AM feed. It's been a fun week. Hopefully, we are back on Monday to talk about a 2-0 start to May. More importantly, we'll be talking about all the series, and we'll find out what the matchups are going to be, and we'll break it all down for you on the Monday episode there. So, Uncle Dave, anything else for our listeners before we get our weekend started?
Yeah, I apologize for being sloppy today. I was predisposed before we had to record this, so There is that, and I think we should go full tout if we're up like around 20 units or so for the podcast. I think for the next like 6 or 8 weeks we should bet like half units, so we can keep our record intact. I mean, that's kind of how it's done, right?
Yeah, typically that's what I've heard. That's how it's done there. You want to scale back and just maintain your record
Right.
for touting. But no, we're just kidding here. We'll we know you
Well,
guys don't have
maybe someday you'll get the opportunity to do that.
maybe who knows. We'll have to explore that. Uh maybe later rather than sooner is what I should say, or maybe sooner rather than later. We'll see. Um yeah, it should be a fun weekend of sports again, NBA action and NHL action. I know we got golf going on as well. So enjoy the games. Make sure you again are betting responsibly. And we'll talk to you guys down the road.